Welcome to HandleBullying.com. I'm HBChristo. My first name is Christopher. And we have heard the sound of a trumpet. And that trumpet has blasted all across the world. And the name of that trumpet, we all know, is Donald J. Trump. And from the perspective here in Australia, from the perspective of HandleBullying.com, this is a massive step forward and instructional on how we as a group of people can confront things in our lives that represents, you can see some of these words behind me, hope. And then you see another one, faith, and another one behind me. Sorry if it's reversed in the camera there. Truth and love. And that is a big part of what this is going to be all about. Now, from the perspective, as you may be aware, I run many Twitter handles. It comes from a Christian perspective, Judeo-Christian, but it is still a very big umbrella. So what we have tonight is a massive result which has been not just underestimated, but totally ignored by the media. Now, the media, as we know, has been corrupt and has been willfully ignorant. Now, when you choose to be willfully ignorant and the consequence is only for yourself, then it can be considered, well, that's your choice and you can choose to ignore something that is obvious, that is true. But when you claim to represent a nation, when you claim to represent a plurality of people, but really you've ignored more than 50% of them, then you have to be confronted, you and whatever is behind you. And that is why the mainstream media is in a lot of trouble now, because they have lied and lied. And this is not just about America, this is about the UK, this is about Europe, this is about Australia, have lied to entire nations about what is really going on. But it is also an indictment on churches that have refused to pray, refused to stand, refused to speak. Because if you don't know something, how can you say anything, whether you're praying or saying? How can you do anything? So this is a massive season of change. Now, on the Periscope message, I wasn't able to Periscope tonight because the reception here in the Gold Coast, there's a big thunderstorm. And we will see thunderstorms all across this world right now. In the next few weeks, there'll be a lot of turmoil. People will be let go who have been claiming to be playing a straight bat. People have been claiming to be fair, but they haven't been fair. People who've claimed to know the truth or to know enough, but they've been lying, whether it be politicians, whether it be senior political aficionados or pundits. And there'll be a great deal of turmoil that needs to happen. People will be emotional, but this needs to happen. Now, what's happened is, I've addressed this in previous videos, what has happened tonight is it's what is called triggering. And triggering does need to occur. It doesn't always have to be the most dramatic. It doesn't always have to look like this. But when you're confronted by something that is so clearly in its own bubble, then that bubble has to be popped. It has to be sliced. It has to be cut. And that's what's happened. So the silent majority, and people who wouldn't even admit, because they knew how much reproach it would bring, they would not even admit that they voted for Trump in America. But it's not just about Trump, it's about the entire silent majority the silent independent majority that is looking at globalist tactic behavior that has been put upon nations on energy, on immigration, on religio-political correctness. Now, when truth needs to be spoken, but truth itself is being attacked, or the right to speak is being attacked. Here in Australia, we have an illegal law in many ways. It's called 18C. In America, the attack on the Second Amendment, the freedom of speech. In Britain, there's been the attack on the freedom of speech, whether it be about gay marriage, whether it be about Muslim immigration, whether it be, doesn't really matter. This trumpet has blown, and that is itself a final result, but the work has only just begun. So for anyone who thinks this is the end game, this is day one. This is day one. This is the beginning of the beginning. So if you are a supporter of trumpet or trumpets, it sounds very similar, doesn't it? Trumpets and trumpet. So even if you're not supportive of Trump, the message is a sympathetic message that triggering had to happen. Triggering had to happen because the things that are in the WikiLeaks emails are so obscene, so disgusting, so extreme in and of themselves. The mainstream media could not actually report it because a lot of them, the media identities, whether it be Washington or New York, were actually a part of it. They were going to these events. Now, spirit cooking is simply the beginning. And you can see over my right shoulder here, truth. And that is the truth. That's what they were doing. And that is the true extreme. That is the extreme. The truth is that the foundation of America was based on internal conflicts within a Christian context. It was not actually entertaining a plurality of ideas, including Muslim and Hindu and other religions. The reality is that it was a battle between the Puritans and the king that caused America's invention. That is the founding of America. And I'm surprised that no one has ever actually raised that America was based on Judeo-Christian ideas or Christian ideas, which incorporates the Old and New Testament, the Ten Commandments. And so within the context of that is a grace that's held out to other nations of other religions. You can come, but you come on the basis that you understand that it is a Christian nation, which it was, which Australia is, which even the UK, despite the War of Independence, despite the protestations, but even now with Brexit and now with trumpet, this thing has happened. And so sympathy can be extended. But the overall message is that handling bullying has a practical ground game. And much can be learnt from a quote-unquote Donald Trump in how to do this. But not so much in how he's done it in the past. Not so much in how he built his empire, which was by representing himself as one from on the other side, as he said, a Democrat. And so as we move forward, as we think about these things from the biggest pictures possible, because this is what we're talking about. We're talking about the big pictures. Now, Obama, as you can see over my left shoulder, hope and change is what he paraded to the world. However, it was not realized because now Obamacare, the perfect healthcare system, which essentially was in the middle of self-destructing, has not eventuated. He has polarized the nation with Black Lives Matter. Now, he directly may not have done it, but George Soros has also been confronted because of the money that he put into this election as a European. Now, also who's been confronted is Rupert Murdoch, who has also, through indirectly, engaged in what could only be described as mainstream media madness. The announcement of the trumpet victory was delayed by between 1 and 2 hours, and I was a personal witness of this. 1 and 2 hours. So right there you have a major scandal, because that could have turned an election result that could have been decided in one day, and if it had become a little bit closer, it could have been extended up to a week. And that's what Fox News was willing to threaten, not just the American electorate, but the global audience, with the stress of what this was, which was a clear election result much earlier. So rather than waiting till 2 or 1 in the morning, I couldn't exactly tell you what exact American time it was. They held it up. And it's surprising that the New York Times was even better behaved than Fox News. And it took some rather, let's just say, assertive tweets from not just myself, I'm sure from others as well, saying, why are you not calling this election? 1 and 2 hours, Brett Baer. 1 and 2 hours, Bill O'Reilly. 1 and 2 hours. Matters. Even here in Australia, you don't do that. That is not just called poor form. That is called mainstream media globalist shilling. 1 and 2 hours is, give you an ad break. That's fine. Maybe 2, not 1 or 2 hours. And then language of however many votes were cast, which I think it was between 50 and 60 million, 1 and 2 hours is not your call to make, but you made it. And so trumpet must have an equal airing in the mainstream media landscape. And so that is part of hope and real change, is that media will not be calling the shots from a globalist shilling or a globalist misrepresentative perspective, that rather that the globalists will be honestly representing themselves without being defended or pre-defended by media personalities, whether it be at Fox or MSNBC or Meet the Press, Chuck Todd, others who had the choice to say, okay, we don't have the right to hold back an announcement. But that's what happened, 1 to 2 hours. 1 to 2 hours. And that is a scandal of the highest level. That's worse than what happened with George Bush. And in fact, the media rigging is the story as well here. That's day one on dealing with media rigging. That's day one on, yes, building that wall, which is a representative of nation statehood as opposed to globalist shilling. It's day one on resetting the support of Israel, that Israel does not have to be ashamed of its existence anymore. And the capital of Israel can now move to where it belongs, which is Jer-USA-lem. And yes, USA is in the Bible. Thank you, Kat Kerr.